"Sir, my mom failed to return home yesterday evening." The young African-American lad, merely 7, trembled in the blizzard while clutching the palm of the wealthiest individual in the community. Marcus Coleman, head of Coleman Enterprises, had discovered the child sobbing beyond the barriers of his estate amid a tempest that had immobilized the metropolis. "What's your title, youngster?" Marcus inquired, draping the kid with his premium wool overcoat as they proceeded to the vehicle. "Isaiah, Mr. Isaiah Washington." The tiny tone battled the piercing gale. "My mother labors at your plant. She invariably arrives home prior to morning meal." "Invariably." Marcus sensed a chill in his gut unrelated to the climate. Coleman Enterprises possessed 17 facilities in the area, yet solely 3 ran overnight schedules. What if a worker had vanished unbeknownst to him? "What's your mom's title?" "Diana Washington. Folks refer to her as D." The title rang no bells, but Marcus realized he recognized under 5% of his 15,000 staff. Throughout the 20-minute journey to the substance handling facility in the manufacturing zone, Isaiah recounted how his mom consistently reached at 6 a.m., how she prepared flapjacks on weekends, and how she had vowed never to abandon him solitary. The plant functioned routinely upon their arrival. Illumination active, perpetual activity, the sharp odor of substances blended with vapor from dissolving frost. Marcus seldom conducted impromptu inspections, particularly not amid the dawn rotation. Mr. Coleman, the evening overseer, a squat, anxious fellow called Peterson, nearly stumbled upon spotting them. "We weren't anticipating. Is there an issue?" "I'm seeking a worker. Diana Washington." "Where's she?" Peterson winked swiftly, glanced at Isaiah, then returned to Marcus. "Well, sir, an event occurred yesterday evening." "What sort of event?" "She got nabbed pilfering materials from the storage. Costly substances. We summoned guards. She opposed detention and coercion was required to subdue her. She's detained in the guard chamber." Marcus eyed Isaiah, who had started weeping quietly. Something felt off. A lone parent swiping commercial substances. Items lacking street worth to ordinary folks. "I demand to view the guard video immediately." Peterson wavered. "Sir, it's inner procedure. Personnel is already managing the matter." At that instant, Marcus observed something in Peterson's gaze. It wasn't career jitters. It was dread. Dread that an element would surface. "Peterson," Marcus uttered in a perilously soft tone, "are you refusing me entry to my firm's captures?" While awaiting entry to the guard setup, Marcus observed how fellow workers evaded direct stares at Isaiah. How the managers murmured amongst each other when believing he wasn't observing. How all appeared to possess a finely practiced account of the details regarding Diana Washington. But what seized his notice most was the spark in Isaiah's gaze. Not from terror or bewilderment, but from a serene resolve that appeared odd in one so youthful. As though he grasped something that grown-ups couldn't fathom a kid might comprehend. What none comprehended was that evening in the blizzard would merely initiate a probe that would unveil organized ethnic graft plots inside Coleman Enterprises. Plots that would ruin professions, topple wealth, and demonstrate that occasionally equity emerges via the pure gazes of those we minimally anticipate. If this tale of graft and bias has sparked your interest, ensure to join the feed to learn how a head executive would uncover that his firm concealed mysteries that would sully his standing eternally. The guard chamber reeked of mildew and inexpensive sanitizer. Diana Washington perched in a synthetic seat, restraints on her arms, her lids puffy from sobbing. But upon sighting Isaiah dashing toward her, something shifted in her stare, a blend of ease and horror. "Isaiah, my dear," she murmured, pressing lips to her child's brow as the restraints clinked. "What are you doing here?" Marcus observed the spectacle quietly. Something was profoundly amiss here. A lady charged with pilfering commercial substances did not exhibit the guardedness or anxiety usual of one nabbed in the act. Diana appeared accepting, as though she had anticipated this. "Mr. Peterson," Marcus uttered, his tone slicing the chill atmosphere in the space. "I demand to view the captures now." Peterson fidgeted uneasily amid the documents. "Sir, as I mentioned, it's procedure. Maybe it's optimal to allow the judicial section." Peterson. Marcus pivoted entirely toward him, and something in his inflection caused the fellow to retreat half a pace. "You possess 10 seconds to guide me to those captures, or you'll need to justify to the council why you're blocking the head executive from retrieving his firm's data." 5 minutes subsequently in the surveillance space, Marcus viewed the captures from the prior evening. What he witnessed caused his gut to twist. Diana was solitary in the storage arranging materials, evidently part of her standard tasks. Then Peterson emerged escorted by 2 sentries. They conversed shortly and Diana wagged her head forcefully, indicating a notepad. Peterson grabbed the notepad from her grasp and gestured to the sentries. "Where's the sound?" Marcus queried. "The sound setup had issues in that zone," Peterson answered swiftly. "Highly handy," Marcus persisted, observing. Diana attempted to clarify something, motioning toward the containers nearby. Peterson indicated a particular one that Diana evidently hadn't contacted. The sentries shoved her against the barrier and commenced inspecting her items. "Fascinating," Marcus whispered. "She labored routinely and was confronted by you, not vice versa." Peterson perspired coldly now. "Sir, there are elements unclear in the captures." "What elements?" "Well, prior grievances about Diana existed. Minor pilfering, defiance." "Grievances from whom?" "Various managers. It's all recorded." Marcus grasped his device and contacted personnel. "I require Diana Washington's full dossier in 5 minutes. All assessments, cautions, grievances." He disconnected and glared at Peterson. "Let's view what records you possess." While awaiting, Marcus observed Isaiah observing all in utter quiet. For a 7-year-old, he displayed a troubling adulthood, as though he had witnessed grown-ups deceiving previously. The dossier came via message. Marcus recited loudly. "Diana Washington, 7 years with the firm. Regularly superior assessments, flawless timeliness, no official cautions until," he halted, verifying the date. "Until 3 months prior." Peterson coughed. "As I mentioned, recent issues. 3 cautions in 3 months. All for defiance and unsuitable demeanor." Marcus stared straight at Peterson. "All endorsed by you. Odd how an exemplary worker for 7 years abruptly turned troublesome precisely when you got elevated to evening overseer." Marcus' device buzzed. A note from his aide. "Mr. Coleman. I verified as asked. Peterson got employed 4 months prior. He arrived suggested by the council, particularly by Mr. Hartwell. Richard Hartwell, council participant, renowned for his understated remarks about upholding norms in the firm." Marcus started to grasp the larger scene. "Peterson, I desire you to clarify something to me." Marcus displayed him the display of his mobile. "How does a worker who never possessed issues in 7 years abruptly require probing for pilfering under your oversight?" Peterson parted and sealed his lips like a beached fish. "Sir, maybe we ought to converse this privately." "Truly," uttered a gentle tone behind them. "I believe Isaiah possesses something to utter about that." All pivoted. Isaiah had neared quietly, grasping a tiny play audio device, one of those that kids employ to act reporter. "My mom provided me this to capture tales," Isaiah uttered, his tone firm despite his 7 years. "But yesterday evening when she failed to return, I returned here seeking her. And I captured what Mr. Peterson uttered on the device." Peterson blanched utterly. Isaiah activated play. Peterson's tone resounded through the space. "Yes, sir. It's completed. The problematic African-American lady has been subdued. As you uttered, occasionally you must adopt preemptive steps before they begin providing notions to the rest." The quiet that ensued was overwhelming. Marcus eyed Peterson, who attempted to locate terms to justify himself. He eyed Diana, who had shut her lids as though she could at last inhale. And he eyed Isaiah, who grasped the audio device with the gravity of one who fully comprehends the strength of proof. "Mr. Peterson," Marcus uttered, his tone perilously serene. "I believe we possess much to discuss. But initially, Isaiah, might you inform me what else you grasp about these preemptive steps?" The grin that traversed the lad's visage was far from pure. It was that of one who had devoted months collecting proof, awaiting the proper instant. What none comprehended was that kid's audio device held far more than a dialogue. Isaiah had recorded weeks of covert gatherings, particular titles of council participants, and an organized scheme to remove African American workers who jeopardized the firm ethos. Occasionally equity emerges via the purest gazes and the keenest intellects. But what Peterson and his bosses failed to grasp yet was that belittling a 7-year-old would be the smallest of the errors they would commit on that frigid evening. Over the subsequent 3 weeks, Marcus Coleman would uncover that Coleman Enterprises had evolved into something he never could have foreseen. A hub of organized bias masked as a reputable entity. Isaiah's capture was merely the surface. Marcus quietly engaged Victoria Chun, a confidential probe expert in business offenses, and what she revealed caused his gut to twist. "Mr. Coleman," Victoria uttered during a covert gathering at a central cafe. "This extends far past Peterson. There are no fewer than 12 African American workers who have been dismissed in the recent 2 years on fabricated accusations. All labored in management roles or were nearing elevation." Marcus perused the dossiers she had assembled. Titles, dates, techniques. A trend as evident as it was alarming. "And there's additional," Victoria proceeded, softening her tone. "The directives originate straight from the council. Richard Hartwell organizes monthly gatherings they term ethos quality oversight. I possess captures." Meanwhile, Peterson had gotten elevated to area overseer, a clear compensation for his fine efforts. Diana stayed on leave sans compensation, confronting an inner probe that was being intentionally prolonged. The kin survived on the sparse reserve she had succeeded in setting aside. Marcus visited Isaiah and Diana routinely, invariably delivering provisions and feigning they were merely firm health inspections. But each visit rendered him more furious. Isaiah returned to being merely a kid, but his gazes disclosed an adulthood that no kid ought to possess. "Mr. Marcus," Isaiah uttered one midday, toying with some play vehicles on the ground of the tiny parlor. "My mom is quite sorrowful. She doesn't rest well." Marcus eyed Diana, who attempted to grin as she readied brew with pouches that had evidently been utilized multiple times previously. "Isaiah informed me that you visit us because you concern," she uttered. "But I don't desire you to injure yourself due to us. Folks like us, we're accustomed to it." That phrase struck Marcus like a blow to the abdomen. Folks like you shouldn't need to accustom to unfairness. That evening, Marcus contacted Victoria. "I desire all. Every message, every call, every paper that demonstrates this plot, and I desire the titles of all the workers who were injured. Mr. Coleman, that's going to require much funds and time. Funds is not an issue. Time is depleting." What Marcus failed to grasp was that Hartwell and the other council participants already distrusted his overboard concern in the Diana Washington matter. During a management gathering, Hartwell ensured to raise the topic. "Marcus, we comprehend your worry with personnel guidelines," Hartwell uttered with a grin that failed to touch his gaze. "But maybe it's optimal to leave these functional matters to the specialists. You possess more vital worries, don't you?" "Certainly, Richard. Just ensuring we adhere to all procedures." "Superb. Because it would be regrettable if our investors began doubting misguided management focuses." Marcus grasped the menace flawlessly. Hartwell managed 30% of the firm's equity via a capital group. He was influential enough to generate grave issues. But what Hartwell failed to grasp was that Marcus had started to maneuver his own elements on the council. Initial maneuver. Marcus quietly reached Rachel Thompson, a probe journalist for the Washington Gazette renowned for unveiling business controversies. He didn't disclose any particulars, merely hinted that there might be a fascinating tale about work methods at Coleman Enterprises. Second maneuver, he started recording all his engagements with the council, capturing gatherings when feasible, and maintaining detailed logs of every dubious dialogue. Third maneuver via Victoria. He started to find workers who had been dismissed under dubious conditions. Many were jobless. Some had relocated from the area. Others labored in positions far beneath their skills. But the most crucial maneuver originated from an unforeseen origin, Isaiah. The lad had persisted visiting the plant, concealing nearby to overhear dialogues. His youthful espionage activities disclosed data that even Victoria had failed to acquire. "Mr. Marcus," Isaiah uttered during one of his visits. "Mr. Peterson has conversed with other managers. They possess a roster." Marcus knelt to the lad's height. "What sort of roster, Isaiah?" Isaiah extracted a wrinkled sheet from his pouch, a duplicate of a sheet he had discovered in the waste in Peterson's workspace. It was a roster of titles, all of African American workers, with annotations beside them. Elevate away. Generate corrective matters. Locate cause to dismiss. Diana's title was at the summit labeled settled. But there was something more alarming. At the base of the roster was inscribed next mark, management leadership. And there was a title that caused Marcus' pulse to halt. Kevin Washington, head of activities. Kevin Washington. One of the most capable managers in the firm who had been selected for an elevation to deputy head and who Marcus realized with increasing dread was Diana's elder sibling. Marcus instantly grasped the scale of what he confronted. This wasn't merely about injuring entry-level workers. Hartwell and his partners were organizedly removing any chance of African American management at all tiers of the firm. And Kevin possessed no notion what was impending. Marcus eyed Isaiah, who grasped the sheet with the gravity of one who fully grasped the significance of what he had discovered and made a choice. "Isaiah," he uttered, "you would create the finest confidential probe expert I've ever recognized. Will you assist me rescue not only your mom but many other individuals?" The grin that traversed the lad's visage was not youthful. It was that of one who was prepared for conflict. What Hartwell Peterson and the whole council failed to grasp yet was that they had committed the deadly error of belittling not only a 7-year-old kid, but a head executive who was about to employ all the assets of a business realm to ruin the graft within the firm itself. The genuine conflict was merely commencing. And Marcus Coleman was about to demonstrate that occasionally the optimal method to cleanse residents is to incinerate all that is decayed inside, even if it signified reconstructing from zero. The Coleman Enterprises yearly investors gathering invariably occurred on the initial Monday in December. 500 individuals, encompassing financiers, industry press, and upper personnel, assembled in the refined hall of the Metropolitan Inn. Marcus Coleman ascended the platform at precisely 10 a.m. as he had performed for the prior 15 years. But this occasion, something differed. In the right angle of the hall, Rachel Thompson of the Washington Gazette was there with a complete recording team. In the forward line, Diana and Isaiah Washington filled chairs that were usually set aside for upper managers. "Ladies and gentlemen," Marcus commenced, his tone resounding through the audio setup. "Today, you will observe something I never foresaw I would need to perform. The complete unveiling of an ethnic plague that has developed within my firm." A whisper of bewilderment spread through the hall. Richard Hartwell, positioned at the council desk, scowled and murmured something to Peterson, who had been summoned to display the functional outcomes. Marcus proceeded, his tone acquiring force. 3 weeks prior, a 7-year-old lad rapped on my entrance during a blizzard. He sought his mom, who had been wrongly charged with pilfering by dishonest managers at our firm. The massive display behind Marcus illuminated, displaying an image of Isaiah clutching Marcus' palm in the blizzard. "This is Isaiah Washington. And this," Marcus uttered as the picture shifted to display Diana in restraints, "is Diana Washington, an exemplary worker for 7 years who was the sufferer of an organized plot of ethnic bias that contaminated our entity like an illness." Peterson attempted to rise. "Mr. Coleman, maybe we ought to converse this privately." "Sit," Marcus uttered with a power that caused Peterson to retreat instantly. "You'll possess your opportunity to justify yourself to all." Marcus gestured and Victoria Chun neared the platform with a hefty directory. "Over the prior 21 days, we have probed every removal, every relocation, every restructuring of the prior 2 years. The outcomes are crushing." The display now showed a chart with scores of titles. 43 African American workers were organizedly removed from the firm between January 2022 and November 2024. All via fabricated charges, altered assessments or restructurings that particularly aimed workers of hue. Hartwell at last rose, his visage crimson with fury. "Marcus, this is an exceedingly grave and baseless charge. I require that you halt this farce right away." "Farce?" Marcus grinned icily. "Richard, you're correct. Let's proceed to the details." Isaiah rose from the forward line grasping his tiny audio device. With the aid of a cordless speaker, his youthful tone resounded through the hall. "This is Mr. Peterson conversing on the device 3 weeks prior." Peterson's tone emerged distinct over the amplifiers. "Yes, sir. It's completed. The problematic African American lady has been subdued. As you uttered, occasionally you must adopt preemptive steps before they begin providing notions to the rest." The hall erupted in astonished whispers. Peterson blanched utterly, staring frantically at Hartwell. "But there's additional," Marcus proceeded. Victoria dispersed bundles of papers to the reporters there. "We possess captures of gatherings that Mr. Hartwell termed ethos quality oversight. Gatherings where particular tactics were debated to prevent the ascent of African American workers." Hartwell's tone emerged from the amplifiers, distinct and indisputable. "We require to be more discreet. We can't merely dismiss all at once, but we can generate scenarios where they sense uneasy enough to depart." "This is a trap," Hartwell hollered, but his tone trembled. "Is it?" Marcus gestured again. "Kevin Washington, might you accompany us?" Kevin Washington, head of activities and Diana's sibling, ascended the platform. In his grasp, he bore a sealed packet. "Kevin discovered this on his workstation this dawn," Marcus uttered. "The scheme for his own removal." Kevin unsealed the packet and recited loudly, "Confidential note. Kevin Washington presents a risk to the ethos stability of management leadership. I suggest probe for claimed monetary wrongdoing. Proof will be inserted as required." The paper was marked with the official personnel seal and endorsed by Peterson and Hartwell. The hall was now in total turmoil. Financiers murmured fiercely amongst each other. Reporters keyed rapidly on their devices. "Gentlemen," Marcus uttered, his tone slicing the disorder. "These are the individuals you relied on to manage sections of this firm. Individuals who viewed African American workers not as humans or skilled experts, but as issues to be resolved." Hartwell attempted one final ploy. "Marcus, you're ruining this firm over a few functional miscommunications. The investors won't endure the investors." Marcus chuckled sourly. "Richard, you believe the investors will endure discovering that our firm is about to confront 43 legal actions for ethnic bias? Legal actions we possess zero chance of succeeding because you and Peterson left a path of proof a secondary school pupil could track." Marcus pivoted to the hall. "Effective right away, Richard Hartwell and all council participants implicated in this plot are dismissed. Peterson and all colluding managers are dismissed and all workers injured by this plot will be restored with complete reimbursement." "You can't perform that," Hartwell hollered. "I manage 30% of the equity in this firm." "Managed." Marcus rectified. "Because our probe has revealed that your capital group employed internal data to alter the firm's equity on no fewer than 6 distinct events. That's a national offense, Richard." 2 FBI operatives who had been subtly placed near the outlet started to near Hartwell and Peterson. "Operative Sarah Mitchell, FBI," the lady uttered, verifying herself. "Richard Hartwell, Peterson Martinez." You are detained for plot, organized ethnic bias, and unlawful market alteration. Peterson attempted to flee but was swiftly blocked. Hartwell, in total hopelessness, hollered, "This is harassment. I'm going to ruin you all. You don't grasp who you're confronting." "Truly," Marcus uttered serenely, "we grasp precisely who we're confronting. We're confronting offenders who have concealed behind costly garments and false credentials to injure blameless individuals." As Hartwell and Peterson were escorted away in restraints, Marcus pivoted to Diana and Isaiah in the forward line. "Ms. Washington, would you desire to accompany us up here?" Diana ascended the platform, still disbelieving at what she observed. Marcus hugged her openly before pivoting to the speaker one final occasion. "Diana Washington is our fresh head of personnel," he proclaimed. "Who superior to guarantee this never recurs than one who has endured firsthand the outcomes of our oversight?" The hall erupted in ovation. Diana, tears in her gaze, embraced Isaiah, who murmured, "We accomplished it, Mom. We accomplished it." Marcus eyed the visaged in the crowd. Reporters capturing every syllable. Financiers reassessing their stances. Workers at last witnessing equity served. 3 weeks prior, he uttered, his tone now gentle but resolute. "A young lad rapped on my barrier seeking equity. Today I hope you have witnessed that occasionally equity emerges via the most improbable locations and the purest tones." As the ovation persisted and the lenses captured every instant, one element became evident to all in the hall. Marcus Coleman had not merely cleansed his firm, he had utterly redefined what it signified to guide with honesty. But what occurred in the days that ensued would demonstrate that ruining a realm of bias is merely the commencement. Constructing something superior in its stead is where genuine overhaul truly occurs. 6 months subsequently, Coleman Enterprises was unidentifiable. Diana Washington, now head of personnel, had enacted guidelines that became a countrywide example for business variety. Isaiah, now 8 years old, enrolled in an exclusive academy on a complete grant, not as benevolence, but in acknowledgement of the part he performed in overhauling the firm. Richard Hartwell served a 5-year penalty for ethnic bias and market alteration. Peterson received 3 years and was required to compensate harms that rendered him insolvent. Both forfeited all standing, wealth, kin. "Mr. Marcus," Isaiah uttered during midday meal at the workspace. "Why are certain individuals evil?" Marcus halted consuming and eyed the lad who had altered his existence. "I don't believe they're born evil, Isaiah. I believe they select to be evil when they resolve that certain individuals are valued less than others." Diana grinned, observing the bond that had formed between them. Marcus had become more than a superior. He was kin. And Isaiah had become more than motivation. He was optimism. The firm recorded unprecedented earnings that year. Not by chance, appreciated workers performed superior. The 43 prior workers were restored, many in management roles. Kevin Washington became deputy head. "You grasp what's amusing?" Marcus uttered to Diana one midday. Hartwell believed he was safeguarding the firm's norms. He wound up uncovering that the genuine norms are respectability and skill. On broadcasts, Rachel Thompson displayed a unique sequence on business bias, employing Coleman Enterprises as an instance of genuine overhaul. Occasionally, she uttered, "Alter occurs when we minimally anticipate it via a valiant kid and a grown-up ready to heed." Isaiah, now an gadget specialist at age 8, had formed a basic program for nameless reporting of bias. Firms throughout the nation desired to enact it. "Mom," he uttered one evening, "I believe I discovered my career." "What is it?" "Equity investigator." Diana chuckled. But Marcus assented gravely. "The globe requires more investigators like you, pal." The moral was straightforward. Bias isn't merely ethically incorrect. It's financially foolish. Squandering ability due to hue is squandering earnings, creativity, and expansion. Hartwell attempted to contest the penalty 3 occasions. He forfeited them all. Peterson became an evening guard in a lot, a sarcasm that escaped no one. Marcus gazed out the pane of his workspace where the image of Isaiah in the blizzard stayed mounted. 6 months prior, a lad rapped on his barrier. Today that lad had reauthored the guidelines of a U.S. business contest. The finest payback, Marcus uttered to himself, is to demonstrate them incorrect about who merits chances. If this tale of overhaul and societal equity moved your spirit, join the feed for more accounts that demonstrate that occasionally one valiant kid can alter the entire globe and that genuine guidance signifies heeding to the tones others prefer to disregard.